Hello, team. Dr. Towns here with Coach Ed, and I am here today with another video. And this one is very, very important. It's pertaining to my students who have an IEP or 504 accommodations, and how to navigate the college system to make sure to ensure that they get the accommodations that they utilize in the high school, but you also get this with your college courses. So, but first, thank you guys. Thank you so much for dealing with me for going on 2 years, a little over 2 years now. I absolutely enjoy what I do, and I do it to help as many people as I can, which adds to my mantra. I want to do all I can for as many people as I can for as long as I can. And I'm very serious about that. And I think that hopefully it comes out in my videos and in my the flyers that I post, because I won't say it takes a lot of time, but the time it does take, I enjoy the research. I am a researcher, and who would think that I'm a researcher? But I read a lot of research papers that gives me the new knowledge I'm looking for regarding certain subjects, and this happens to be one of them. So again, thank you very much for rocking with me, looking at my videos. If you should ever have a question, please send it to my Gmail account, which is coachedsolutions at gmail.com, and I'll respond to you. I look forward to hearing what maybe you can consider, either a concern, an idea, or just a comment. I welcome them all. So thank you for joining Coach Ed, and when you do. Okay, let's jump in, guys. And here again, I'm very serious about this. I've been involved with students having accommodations for the past 16 years. Yeah, 16 years. And I have to say, each and every student that I've encountered, whether it was just dropping by, talking about life, getting encouragement, listening to the gossip or whatever. It was all fun, but it gets real when I'm dealing with a student who has an IEP or 504. I think the common mistake is they feel that I don't need it until they need it, and I just enjoyed the opportunity to this is where you get a chance to go a little further, other than the transcript, other than the pass by at orientation. I took great pleasure in getting to know the student and listening to the students, and the stories are all over the place. I have accommodations, but I don't use them. I have accommodations, but in high school, the teacher wouldn't do them, which is a federal offense. That's against the law. You can't do that. This is heavily protected by the federal government. But I also have seen a lot of success where that one student who felt they didn't either want it or didn't want anybody to know that they had accommodations, because it does kind of put a somewhat of a stigma on you. Also, you want to try to kind of do it without, and which I do not suggest. And many times in dealing with college students and high school students, I say high school students because my 8 years with an early college program, I had to include them on my list of students to make sure that they with getting the accommodations that they are afforded. So if you would, just give me a few minutes. I have 10 things that you need to do. And this is primary for the parents and for the high school graduate and soon to be college student in about 60 days. So just make sure that you got to know your rights. And I'm talking about the parents and the student. Understand, if your child is 18 now or turning 18 by the time they're in college, they are in a position to make decisions on their own. Should they decide to not utilize the accommodations and they're 18, that's the decision made. Regardless of what the parents may think, what I may think, they've made a decision. And that's part of the freedom that you experience while you're in college. So if you're 18 years old, you want to forego this right and opportunity, it is up to you. I would not suggest. So number one is know your rights. Understand that you do have the opportunity to take advantage of the accommodations while you are in high school. If you choose not to, that's on you. In the interim, make sure review updated information. I think we can use from high school back 3 years. And what you present, that's what we continue to use for 4 years. We don't make any changes. If you are entitled to extended time, separate setting, that's what we recommend to the faculty to help support. So just make sure everything you submit. Now, there's a couple of ways you could send this information to the university, and a lot of universities have ADA compliance or accessibility offices where there are people dedicated to make sure that this information, one, confidential. And let me hit that point real quick. A lot of people come to go to college and they don't want anybody to know they have this disability. So they opt out, and they don't want to be, people who have these disabilities, the cognitive. There's a lot going on, and there's a level of fear, there's a level of being less than, that sort of thing, kind of that imposter syndrome. But I'm going in a different direction. But just make sure that the information that you provide is up to date, and it can be sent to the accessibility, sent, mailed, faxed, attached to a document to make sure they have this information. Now, there won't be anything they can do with it until the schedules have been set. But after that has been done, then the information can be sent to the respective instructors and make sure that the accommodations are given. Now, you have a piece of it too, so we're going to get to that in a minute. So plan for the transition. I would, of course, and I mentioned either the 504 or the accommodations or ADA compliance, or here I think the most common one here lately is accessibility. Contact them and ask that staff person, my child has accommodations, I have the IEP or the 504, who do I send it to? So they can already have it. Or you can wait to give it to them at orientation. I would go ahead and send it to them. Go ahead and send it to them. Ask for confirmation when they receive it, and it's already part of your record, already part of your plan for your courses. Keep copies. Everybody should have a copy. Although you're going to submit a copy to the accessibility office, The students should have a copy in a folder, not laying around, so they can kind of remind themselves that yes, I should be doing this. And then the parents, of course, will have a copy just to make sure that the documentation is known by the people that it needs to be known by. Number 5, prepare for college. The accommodations are a little different, whereas on the high school end, they make, and this is one thing I do like. The counselor, they do meet with these students pretty much on a regular basis, and just to really get a taste of is this working? Who would I need to talk to? On the college level, it's a little different. The process goes from the information is received, the information is disseminated to the proper instructors for that particular semester, and that's kind of the process. There's no time unless there's an issue. I was going to say there's no time when the advisor will, meet with the student and say, "Look, is this going on? This going on?" But a good one would. If a student has an IEP or 504, I see nothing wrong with asking the student, "How is this going in this semester with your professors?" They're either going to say, "Yeah, they've been very helpful," or not. I've had situations over my 16 years where, and it was really this one professor. He felt for some reason, if he gives this accommodation to this one student, he has to give it to all students. I'm like, no, because the accommodations such as separate seating, separate testing, that sort of thing, extended time. No, if you choose to, that's up to you. But this particular student must get these accommodations. So we went round and round, and finally, after a visit or two, I said, "Look, I'm not going to lose my job because you're not complying. And this is a federal law, plain and simple. And the expectation is that you do whatever has been recommended that you do for the student, whether it's extra time, we coordinate that time, a separate setting for testing, we coordinate that. If it's whatever it is, but the key word is reasonable. My point I'm trying to make is what may happen in the high school level may not happen on the college level. Although one thing that's guaranteed is the accommodations, if it is reasonable. Let's consider what's reasonable. If the accommodation calls for a note taker, and let's say you're at a small school, that the budget won't allow for a note taker, that may not be a good place for you to go. But you should know that before you apply. And if you're dealing with it at this point, it's almost a moot point. I've dealt with that. Luckily, we were able to accommodate this young man who needed a note taker. It cost us a pretty penny, but if you look at it, you'd rather pay the cost of the service to make sure the student get what they need, as opposed to trying to skirt around that issue. This young man was I think he was deaf in both ears. I think so. He needed a note taker. He played football, but it was very good, in fact. So make sure you understand what the accommodations are, and to see if they will be able to accommodate. And that can be done either by email or in the conversation. No accommodations versus modifications. On the college level, we pretty much take what we get from the high school. If it's I think only where it gets, I think the only time it became an issue for me was when I first started. This wasn't an issue, but the more over the 16 years, past 5, 6, 8 years, these service dogs, and it was a mess. Where some students, um, and the interesting part, and this was legit. I had to when the student brought me the paperwork and I read it, and I said, "Well, look, give me a few days. I'm going to talk to your therapist and blah blah blah." So I did talk to the therapist, and the recommendation was that this young lady was a basketball player. Her accommodation animal was a rabbit. So in meeting with her, I'm like, "Please tell me you do not take your rabbit to." And she said, "No, I do not." But that was her support animal, um, and which led us to start to make sure we had our ducks in a row as to a bunny rabbit is pretty contained, but when you have dogs and that sort of thing, I got to a point where students were bringing dogs that were not support animals, so of course they had to go home. But or in one situation where I had a young lady who had the paperwork, but would not follow the requirements of the residential life department regarding maintaining the dog and making sure that the dog was always with her. If you're going to claim this as a support, then the dog should be with you. Anyway, that's maybe a knowing the accommodations that you need to make sure that is well understood, especially when we now are having more and more students needing support animals. So if that's the case, let's make sure everyone understands it. In most cases, not only should the dog be in your presence most of the time, there's also kind of a dog kind and weight. You can't bring a 110-pound Rottweiler as your support dog, a pit bull. No, that's not going to happen. So just be aware if that's the case. If that's the case, make sure you discuss it with the accessibility office as soon as possible, because unless the student has a private room, when you're sharing with a room or in a quad situation, you have other people to consider. There may be an allergy, animal allergy. There could be a fear of dogs. So there's more than just the student with accommodation that must be taken into place. Okay. Make sure you, and this is something you should have done already, unless you plan to take the SAT or ACT over the summer. In a lot of cases, if you want to look for a better score, I would think you already took it, let's say in the early part of the year or last year, and you were accepted on these scores. But the accommodations are in place if you feel the need to take it again. Here again, if you need accommodations, you need to make sure that's done. Empower self-advocacy. Oh my gosh, I can't really tell you how much how important this is. This is very, very important. Self-advocacy, once you're 18, we look as a student to be the expert of themselves to the point where, and you need to self-advocate for yourself. If at some point, now let's play this out. Let's say you've already received acceptance letter. We know you're coming. We are prepared to submit to the professors your accommodations. It is incumbent upon you to also make sure that professor knows who you are and what your accommodations are. Don't assume, because they have 500 more other students they also have to deal with. But in your particular case, make sure, yes, they received an email, but are they prepared to do whatever it takes on their end to make sure you get the accommodations? You have to make sure that's in place. So either if you're looking at the syllabus, which you should on a regular basis, contact your professor by email that shows documentation. Look, my name is Reginald Towns, and I'm in your so-and-so class, section, whatever. I have an IEP, which calls me to have separate setting for testing, and I'd like to utilize my accommodations on this particular test. Let's discuss or whatever. Okay, make sure you do that. Build your support team. Your support team is comprised of you're the number one supporter of yourself. The next in line, I would say, would be your advisor, and the next in line, I would say, would be your instructor, or right under you would be the instructor, because they, for the better part of the semester, they are the ones that are going to make sure that you get whatever the accommodations that are attached to your stay there. Whether it's separate setting, whether it's extended time, that must be arranged by the instructor and the testing center, or in some cases the advisor involved. So make sure you have your people in place, especially on the college level, as far as your support team, and that would be certainly yourself, your advisor, and the instructor. And in some cases, a staff person from the testing center. Okay. Please don't wait until there's a problem. What could be a problem? Not getting your accommodations. What could be a problem? You waited too long and it has negatively affected your grades. If you do it, I would say by midterms, that's a devastating blow. If you wait to midterms to want to take advantage of your IEP, you didn't mention it to your professor, they didn't say anything, that's bad news. That's bad news. So as soon as you see some issues, as soon as you're faced with some pushback from the professors, you need to let the advisor know as soon as you can. All right, guys. I hope these 10 things or recommendations are helpful. Hopefully you will find them helpful. Hopefully you will go ahead and prepare to get, guys, with 60 days out. 60 days out. By the end of July, within the first couple of weeks of August, you're going to be headed to a new world, a new life, a new you. And I wish you all the luck in the world. All right, guys. Dr. Towns, you got any questions, please email me at coachedsolutions@gmail.com. All right. Great day. Have you.